Well, it's time for the DevCast, a show where we talk to our amazing developers at Portage-based solutions about how to help people like me, lazy people, do less work and still look amazing to our boss. That's my goal, right? Do as little work as I can. I want to just click a button and make it all work. And these are the people who can make that happen. Kate, you did a great job on the episode that I wasn't able to attend. As you know, I was in Alaska doing emergency response. Some idiot decided to burn a ship and park it in Dutch Harbor, and up I went. And we used some of your software, so yay you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm really, it was my first time hosting, so of course that's a little nerve-wracking, but I'm happy to fill in the shoes, and I'm just getting really excited for Claris Engage and still working on my presentation, which is all about workflow automation. So Dan, I hope you attend. That would be cool to have you in the audience there. And feeling good today. Good start of the year.
I haven't registered yet, but I'm planning to attend. I think I'm crashing on John's couch in the Airbnb. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see if I have space, or in the bathtub or something. I don't know. Joe, how are you? The bathtub's open? As long as I don't have to sleep in the shower stall. I'd like strap myself in like I'm in the International Space Station or something. Joe, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm really good. Looking forward to, this is in Nebraska, we have this thing called third winter, and we're about to hit it, and it's going to get into our high on Sunday is -8. So we're prepping for that the next couple days.
Oh yeah. When I arrived in Anchorage, it was -4. It's supposed to get cold here too. We've got this low pressure system that's moving in that's going to start sucking all this air out of British Columbia down into. Yeah. I was looking at the wind chart, the NOAA wind trajectories this morning, and sometime by 5 or 6 this evening, we ought to start to get a little chilly. So third winter, is that like second breakfast? Like, are you a hobbit?
Very similar. We have first winter, which is a teaser. And then we go into third fall, and then we have second winter, and then fake fall, and then third winter.
All right, I'm not coming there. So I'll see you. I'll see you in Austin. Jacob, how are you?
I'm doing good. Luckily, in California, we only have one winter, so a little cold.
It's not even winter, right? You get fall, and then wet fall, and then spring, and then and then summer, right? So
basically, yeah.
Maybe up in Northern California you get a little winter. And Zandon, the guy who's going to help me fix what I broke. I broke it, Zandon. I broke it. I thought I could fix it myself, and I broke it.
Oh, well, maybe I'll take that back. I'm sure it'll be fixable. I wouldn't say easy, but it's pretty technical. So I don't want to, say that you're missing something obvious. We can take a look at it though. I'm sure there's something in there.
It's okay. In Claris's phrase, citizen developer, what they really mean is barely competent. That's what citizen developer means. They just don't say it quite that way. John, I like you're sporting the colors there. Your Portage Bay shirt today. I like it.
Well, somebody's got to.
Yeah, is everybody going to be sporting the colors down in Austin at Claris Engage?
Yeah, I think Brandon's been getting us organized. We're all going to have a new hoodie, or I think I'm going to get a long sleeve T-shirt. But we're all going to be decked out. Looking forward to it. It's pretty exciting. We've never had everybody at a conference together like this before, so it's going to be fun. Really, really looking forward to it. Also, I really like Austin, so it'll be fun to get out of the wet up here in Seattle for a week and visit Austin.
So, Brandon, you should make Portage Bay DevCast shirts.
It's on the list, yeah. We started off with the Portage Bay ones, and then we're going to branch out with the DevCast ones. So
okay,
I'll send you the shop link when it's ready.
I take a men's small. Thank you very much. I'll take one. I'll take one of each. At least one day, I'll fly the colors.
Okay.
And Jacob. Oh, wrong one.
Back
I
to
did.
me.
I know I did Jacob already. Russell, you're in a different room. What happened to you? Did they let you move? They let you out?
Yes, I have moved since I think back a couple months ago I moved out. So yeah, in a different bedroom now. Yeah, I'm kind of getting over a cold right now. I've had it since like last week. Pretty much ever since the weather started getting really cold for us, I got instantly sick, and so just getting through that. But yeah, good to finally be here again, back on camera.
Is that what we're calling COVID now? A cold? Like, I have a cold, right?
I did test. I did test. It was negative, but yes, just a cold.
Yeah,
a long-winded cold.
I went out to New Jersey for Christmas party, and the group I hung with, everybody got sick, and some people tested and they did have COVID. I did not test because I'm over it. If I have trouble breathing, I'll go to the emergency room. I'll get on a ventilator, but not today. Not today. So we're going to talk about goal setting that is tech related. And so I'm going to toss it over to Kate for a second to kind of cue us up. Kate, what do we mean by goal setting when it comes to tech?
Well, it's the beginning of the year. So it's, of course, a common time to start thinking about goals for the year. And we thought, tech is the industry we're in, of course. And as everybody knows, this industry is moving so rapidly. There's new tech coming out, AI, all, generative AI, all sorts of things. So we thought it would be a good opportunity to all think about and reflect on what we want to accomplish this year, and then talk about it as a group. And then, goal setting is, of course, for me, the interesting part is you can set goals, but then how do you follow up on them, in the whole goal process as well. So, but I thought it would be fun to all share what we're thinking about this year and what we want to accomplish. So that's the general idea behind this. And I know some people have already kind of thrown out some ideas, so it'd be really cool to hear everybody talk about it.
All right, well, let's just jump right over to Joe. Joe, what are your goals? In the incident command world, we call these objectives, right? So what are your objectives for 2024?
That's a good way of looking at it. I'm typically not one to create time-specific goals for myself, but objectives, I can get behind that. That's something that I can work towards and develop a plan. But mine's pretty simple. I really, as everybody else, I'm sure, I feel like I need to really develop AI into my workflow. And I think that's just going to require a lot of practice and some adjusting of some techniques. But podcasts have been a help so far. Actually, Jacob introduced me to the Gemini, the Google Gemini AI, and I really like the interface for it. I like the prompting interface. I like how you can switch between modes pretty quickly. So I've already started kind of working that into and just getting familiar with it. I wouldn't say I've not even, it's going to take me a while to work it into my workflow, but I like it so far. Other than that, JavaScript is also pretty big, pretty heavy on my mind. I feel like I've gotten comfortable with it enough that I've stopped pushing myself to continually get better at it. So podcasts, jump on some JavaScript podcasts, maybe be involved more into the Jeremy Brown JavaScript scene. I don't know if anybody else has really read up on what he's doing, but I really appreciate what the stuff he's putting into the community for implementing JavaScript into FileMaker solutions. So those are my two main ones.
And I think he has a session at Engage as well, Joe.
He
so
does.
You might want to check
it's
that
similar
out.
to the ones he's done in the past, as far as just setting up your web viewer and kind of like getting an introduction. But he's really good at it. He used to be a teacher, so he takes that knowledge and really applies it to letting people pick up ideas pretty quickly. So I appreciate what he's doing.
Well, that's great. Jacob, what are your objectives for 2024?
I have a pretty extensive list. But I am working towards some things already and actually accomplished somewhat of one of them. We recently did a microservice.
What's that?
And it's so technically we didn't write the entire microservice in its entirety, but I did a full deployment of it on one of our servers. It's basically just what it sounds like, a mini application that runs in a server somewhere who serves like a general purpose. And in this case, it's just retrieving a token from Amazon incognito and then sending the token back.
That's it? That's all it does?
That's all it does. But I mean, it saves. Zandon,
Yeah.
it helped for one of our projects for sure, which I was glad it still ended up being used. But yeah, it was kind of something I've been exploring and never really did. But then having to do all of like the setup and everything, it was pretty cool. So now I can check that off my list. But I still want to build like a full scale web app. I mean, Claire Studio is one of the things that I haven't even touched. I want to do stuff with Docker. I mean, I have a pretty extensive list.
So a full scale web app, is it a project searching for a client? Is that what you're?
No, so like I guess the purpose of the modern web app would just be to see if my skills in JavaScript have gotten to that point where I can just create essentially the same thing as what we do in FileMaker, right? A web app in its entirety.
Well, that sounds cool, and you should try that. You should try building an AIS app with that in mind. Get on with that. Right? Just carry on. Let me know how that works out. I'll look forward to seeing the demo in Austin. Are you still on the screen? Get out of here. Go. Make the thing. I think that's great. Oh, Zandon.
Oh.
What are your objectives? Other than to fix the things I break.
Yes, first on the list, objectives, fix stuff Dan broke. And then, I don't normally do New Year's resolutions or anything along that line, but I think this was good to sort of outline some of the things, because I do have underlying goals that I kind of like to have going forward, but they're not necessarily dependent upon the year. One of the big ones is I didn't make it last year, but I really want to get it knocked out this year. AWS certification. I was working on the AWS certification practitioner exam, cloud practitioner exam, and I spent a lot of time rolling over the past to go visit my girlfriend who lived in Selah, Washington, which is like a 2.5-hour drive. So I was putting in plenty of time studying. There's a lot of friggin' content for it, and doing pretty good on all the test quizzes, but I really need to just nail it down and finish it up and take the exam. I got kind of stalled out at the end of the year, getting focused on so many other projects like fixing Dan problems and then some of the other things that I wanted to do this year really are focused around. I wanted to do more with computer vision, specifically more advanced computer vision. I've been working on some really fun projects this last year with computer vision. You've probably seen stuff where you have these pop-up ads on Facebook or maybe TikTok or Instagram where they're showing a picture of a bunch of pipes, and they're like, we can help you count how many pipes are in your on your load or whatever, right? And it's all just using computer vision. Sounds really basic. But it's really commonplace now to be able to implement computer vision into an application. And with machine learning and the different libraries that are available, you can do some incredible stuff. So I've been working with some of the libraries for computer vision. OpenCV has some really cool stuff that's just like all the other AI stuff this past year has changed drastically. So this last year, computer vision also took huge leaps forward in what libraries were available to assist developers. And so implementing those to make some really cool, fun projects come to light. So that's one of my other goals. Along with that, that all centralizes around sort of Python as I'm building and working with AI and computer vision. Python is a necessity, and my skills in Python are not as strong as I want them to be. I need to learn a whole lot more about Python and how to integrate it and build apps and just get way more fluent with Python. So that's my third goal. And then following on the back of Jacob, containerized microservices, another one. Like, I'm like, yes, I need that, because as soon as you build that web app or that Python app, you're going to want to put it in a container somewhere so you can just call it whenever you need it. And yeah, I really need to wrap my head around that a whole lot more, because it's super, super helpful to have these microservices just be able to at your call, make a call, have it do what you need and spit back the result, and not have to be dependent on a whole structured server doing a whole bunch of different stuff at the same time. So, and then the last one on the list, which wasn't really on my radar at all before this last year, but now I've been learning a bunch about it, and that's vector databases and how to deal with vector databases. And so I didn't know even what a vector database was until this last few months, but it is super cool. Basically, it takes large volumes of information and turns them into a vector, and then you can search those vectors for things. And this is sort of the backbone of the way like ChatGPT works and other AIs, large language models, computer vision models for being able to detect things, is they create vectors for multidimensional vectors for how many ever inputs there are, and store them so that you can run queries against it. And that's a whole lot different than sort of the normal indexing that we used initially in FileMaker. And so it's got some broad reaches, and it's very AI centric. And so super cool, really excited about it. And yeah, that's my fifth one. Sixth one. Anyway, so those are my objectives for the year. I'm looking forward to getting those started and knocked out and just sort of playing with them. But yeah.
So vector databases, isn't that what Chris Ippolite was talking about on our podcast?
Yeah,
Probably.
yeah. I was just thinking about that.
Yeah, I mean, he went
about
into detail about vector databases. What is Kate? What is it that he attended where he was talking about?
He and I attended the Pinecone Summit over the summer in San Francisco, which is Pinecone is, I don't know if they're the largest. They're one of the bigger, vector database companies out there. And so that was, when I attended that conference, I really didn't know anything, but I was like, okay, I need to learn this, so like, it's just that absorbing. And then the more you absorb, then the more you start to understand the concepts, but you have to understand what high dimensional embeddings are, vectors and this, so there's all these concepts that go along with it. But it's really, Zand and I are working on some AI stuff right now. It's really cool and exciting. So yeah, that's been really fun for sure. And one other thing, because I keep thinking about things as we keep sharing, and I know Jacob, you attended Ina Urbach's presentation at Engage, not Engage, Claris Beyond, our user group.
Yes.
But just putting a pin out there also for anybody that hasn't listened to Engage. I keep saying the wrong word. Claris Beyond, our user group, some of those segments are recorded and made public, and she does a really great, overview of microservices.
She does, yeah.
And the one other thing I just thought of, Engage U videos were just made public, the one from the conference in Europe, and Wim Decor also did a great presentation on microservices. So just thinking about things, passing them on, and now it's recorded. So there we go. We can
That's awesome.
call those things.
Well, while we're with you, what are your objectives for 2024?
Okay, so mine are, again, I try not to overcommit myself, let's say, but so So one thing, so the concept of work smarter, not harder, came to mind as it was like, okay, work smarter, not harder, which again relates into all these other, AI tools, thinking about what I'm spending my time doing, workflow automation, but also in terms of technical, I think generative AI, in the news, we talk, you hear news about the different legal, restrictions and things that are happening in regards to legal, security, ethics, and then there's always new models. So my goal is to try to stay more up to date, even though the landscape is changing so quickly, to try to understand the AI landscape better so I can recommend to our clients, here's practical applications of generative AI and how you might incorporate it with your FileMaker solution, because I'm seeing it like trying to get a bigger view about it, which again is always changing and there's so much information to absorb there. So I'm going to be relying on everybody else to help keep me informed, and I think that's how it has to work, is we share information to help all of us stay up to date, because this is the limitation of being a human being. Our brain can only hold so much information at a time. So I need an AI, I need a GPT that will teach me the latest news about AI in a concise way. I don't know, something like that.
No, I hear you. I've felt for a long time that human beings were working beyond their design spec. We're not intended to have all this information coming in from all these different topics all at once. I think we're on the edge of insanity. I'm with you. I did a thing last night with ChatGPT where I uploaded, so you can give it documents now. And so I uploaded the Northwest Area Contingency Plan, my Washington State Maritime Cooperative Oil Spill Response Plan, the new response plan from the Makah Indian tribe, and a couple of after action reports. And I basically said, it said, find me this, compare this to this. Tell me where these documents align and where they conflict. And that was a great list. Like I said, hey, well, when it comes to the unified command, where do these plan align and where do they diverge? And it gave me a great usable list. I would have had to read those documents, lay them side by side, highlight, make a graph. It would take me all day to try to compare that stuff. I did it in 10 minutes. It was amazing. I'm still going to charge the client 8 hours. But so that's because they don't know that.
Did you build a GPS?
It's called value billing.
I have. I built a couple. I have one that I call Scripter Pro, and I've tried to focus it on doing FileMaker scripting. So I go to that one when I have to write scripts. And then I have one that is a Regulatory Pro, and I told it, I gave it the Washington Administrative Code for oil spill response, 33 CFR for oil spill response, a bunch of stuff. And now I just use it. I use it for plan writing and regulatory compliance. It probably needs some work, but it's okay. So. And then Kate, you're running the company these days, aren't you? John, he's got 1 foot in vacation and 1 foot in retirement. What are your plans for Portage Bay? Oh, Grand Poobah.
You're still talking to John.
I caught her by surprise. All right, well, let's go to John. John, what are your goals? Other than to get Kate to run the company, what are your goals for Portage Bay?
So I'm going to pick, for starters anyway, I'm going to dumb things down because I don't do nearly as much FileMaker dev as everybody else anymore. One of my FileMaker goal anyway is to do something with transactions. I haven't actually used transactions in FileMaker yet, and I want to do a little bit of actual scripting work with transactions and get to a better understanding of how well they work and best situations for them to work in. My old days of doing fourth dimension development, I have a really clear picture of how transactions work there, and I used to use them all the time, and so I would like to get a better real world understanding and familiarity with using them in FileMaker. Other than that, I'm impressed, Dan, by your how you're building AI into your normal work life. You're using it for excellent real world productivity gains. I want to do a better job of that. I'm using it for helping with blog writing. I'm using it in some other areas. What I really would love to find, I haven't found one yet, a really good podcast on practical utilization of AI, of generative AI. If anybody listening to this podcast wants to suggest, this DevCast wants to suggest one, please comment on it. I'm looking for one of those I can listen to on a monthly basis to help me improve my AI understanding and practical utilization of AI in everyday life. The third area, tech-wise, that would like to play around with that I haven't found time for is I have all this home automation stuff around. I can tell Alexa to turn off my living room lights and all this other stuff, but I'd like to be able to play around with that some more and automate, goof around with some of the more complicated automations. Like I want to be in my car and be able to tell my alarm system to turn on and off. I haven't figured that one out yet. And I'd like to be able to tie my HVAC system into some kind of automated control. I do have it Wi-Fi enabled, so I can control it over the internet. It'd be fun to play around with one of the iPaaS systems like Claire's Connect or If This Then That or Zapier or something to tie together some different capabilities there and have my have the status of my alarm post to a Slack channel or something that's a little bit boring, but to play around with some of that is also something I'd like to do in 2024.
I don't think that's boring at all. I'm trying to do the same kind of thing for my boat. I want to be able to remotely see what the temperature inside is. I want to see the bilge water levels. I want to see the battery charge levels. I want it to alarm if there's something wrong. I'd like the smoke detector, CO detector to be internet enabled. So you figure that out, what the tools are, because I've got good internet connection. The Starlink is on there and it's running right now. I can use it for my Wise cameras. So that's all the kind of remote inspection I have right now. I can launch the camera, I can swing the camera around, I can see, no water on the deck, and swing it around to the thermometer and yep, still warm inside. But that's all I can do, right? I'd like to do a little bit more.
Sounds like you need some microservices.
I might need some microservices and some different AI, which I'm going to jump back to Jacob for just a second. What was the AI that Zandon was talking about that you're playing around with? Because I'm all in on ChatGPT, but nothing else.
Yeah, Joe was talking about Google Gemini.
Oh, Joe, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so Google came out with another AI animal, we'll call it, because they had Bard before, but Gemini's just, they'll do a top-down comparison between it and ChatGPT. Surprisingly, the numbers are better on Gemini than they are on ChatGPT, but I feel like ChatGPT's just been in the game a little bit longer, so they probably have more features that are a little bit better. But it's not far away. So Gemini, like Google does, has super good documentation. Their environment's nice and clean. And the cherry on top is it's free.
All right.
For now.
Right, because I do pay the $20 a month subscription to ChatGPT so that I have whatever is available. So.
Oh, and if you're building an API, that's not even the consideration. I was just running some tests on some stuff using the API, and I made 4 calls yesterday, and it cost me almost as much as it cost to make a telephone call in the early 90s. Oh, it was 40 cents, for 4 calls. So free is a big deal. When you're asking a chat AI large language model, can you help me with something? it's nice to not be paying, premium telephone rates from the 90s.
Right. Well, I guess that should be an objective for everybody for 2024. How are we going to integrate a large language model API into FileMaker? So put that on your list. I want to introduce everybody to Brandon. She's the producer of this show. If you like this podcast, then send her a thank you because she provides us with the topics. She organizes the time we record this. She holds my feet to the fire for the quality of the editing. So it's all her. Brandon, what are your objectives? Yeah, there you go, everybody. A big round of applause for Brandon. What are your objectives for 2024?
I have sent back to Dan, like, okay, timestamp 33 to 35, need to fix this part. So yeah. Here's where I am. I am so like AI is so far down my list, I'll probably never get to it. Like I'll be just sitting on my porch watching you guys all do it. I'll watch my iRobot reruns.
No, you need to change. No, you need to change your mind and get it into your workflow.
Yeah,
trust me.
It's just like so far. There's other things. So I have like even just being on this podcast is new. I told my kids to literally stop them in their tracks. They're like, "What do you mean you're on a podcast?" So that's new for me. Or even voice transcription. Kate does that a lot, and John, I think I've never used it. So I thought, well, that could be dipping my toes into a little bit broader realm. I start figuring that out. And then with our website, we've got a new website now. We've been trying to optimize that, and that's a whole new world of SEO. Lots of people, this is their career, and they're used to all that language. But that's newer for me, like, alt text and tags and external links and cube phrases, and that's what I'm in the middle of right now. I'm not a developer, but I can do a little bit of layout stuff, and that's enjoyable. So I'm going to branch out into Clara Studio this year and start working on some forms and get a feel for that. Get away from Google. Since we are FileMaker developers, kind of seems silly to be sending out Google Forms. We should use something more FileMaker-y. So shifting to that. And I did learn, you mentioned earlier, easy, fixing your problem, and you were telling Zandon it'll be easy. And that's one word I'm trying to get away from because I use that a lot in the beginning, but I realized nothing is very easy. I've switched to John's like straightforward. If it's straightforward, that's probably easy. If it's moderately straightforward, then that's maybe a little more difficult. So shifting my lingo there.
And you're going to be with us in Austin?
I am, yeah. I'm in Texas, just a couple hours away. So I'm going to travel down there and see everybody.
Right. And we're going to record this podcast from there. What do you have planned for us?
Recording the podcast from there. That's the plan.
So everybody that's listening that wants to be on the show, has something to say, email Brandon. You could do info at Portage Bay, right? That would be a good email.
Mm-hmm.
We'll put it we'll put it up on the screen when we edit it. If you got ideas for the podcast, Brandon's the one to send them to.
Cool.
So, and if you're doing something cool in AI, we'd love to have you. So, Russell, what are your objectives for 2024?
So a couple of them, I'm kind of just, one of the things, kind of the elephant in the room nowadays is definitely the AI thing. Definitely trying to get that more integrated into my workflow and using it to be kind of a helping hand, like you said, kind of turning an all-day project into a 10-minute questionnaire on ChatGPT would be really good to have. Another big one was just and one thing that we kind of also had said was to just optimize my workflow a little bit. One thing that we all use is it's called our favorites file, and just keeping that guy up to date with my files and their credentials to just quickly be able to open things up at a better pace, to just kind of cut down a couple minutes of logging in and taking that time to just be quicker about that. Another thing was, actually Jacob had shown this once, and I've been kind of playing with it a little bit, but there's this app on Apple called Freeform, and you can use it to kind of design basically anything you want. And I kind of want to get better in the habit of doing kind of visual designing for processes and projects kind of before starting, because that was actually one thing we were kind of taught in college a lot too, was usually when it comes to programming or engineering, they always told us that you would be designing and getting ready about 2/3 of the time, and then only about 1/3 of the time spent would be actually implementing and doing the project. So when you spend that time doing the designing and the thinking about it and the visualizing, you'll be a lot more efficient when you actually do the implementing. So utilizing freeform, I think for me would be one thing I definitely want to get better in the habit of, to just do designing. And another kind of goal, and this is kind of a more kind of broader, but when we kind of implement new things for clients, I kind of sometimes think like I just need to stop where we're done with the client work. Like if we're doing a new API for a client, like that has all these, you know, functionalities, we kind of decide which functionalities to use, and then we just go with that. But I kind of want to, you know, try to get in the habit of learning how I can take it farther, and then maybe kind of have that as a new tool, you know, in the tool set. So like if we're doing, you know, for say, like me and Joe did a Google Charts implementation, and we had to use just a specific number of charts to do for this client, but it'd be nice to also, you know, go back and say, well, what other charts do we have that we could use, and how else could we implement Google Charts for a later client potentially, and just have that at the ready in the future for anything else that we may need. So just kind of taking that initiative to bring new tools to the team and have that at the ready for any time we need. And so yeah, those are kind of my big goals for the year.
That's a great goal, to plan out these projects in advance. Raise your hand if you do what Russell is planning, and you plan everything down to the last detail in advance. Raise your hand. How many of you? How many of you design? How many of you designed on the fly with just like a bulleted list of features? Raise your hand. Okay. All right. All right.
I do that right now.
At least I'm not
somewhere in the middle.
At least I'm not alone. I appreciate that. Go back to computer vision. Zandon, is that something you can implement into FileMaker?
Yeah, there's a couple of different ways. They do have a ML script that you can call for machine learning. You do have to. It is under Apple's SDK in order to use it, but you can also, if you build a microservice or a separate app that you can connect to with as an API or some sort of service on the computer locally, you can pull that information in. And that's really more what I'm looking for, is to be able to offload something like a video feed that is processing the image data and being able to tell you different things about the image, right? Where it can segment things out of the image, tell you how many people are there, what the people are doing, how they're moving, different objects, count things, all sorts of statistical information that you can get from video feeds. That's super, super straightforward and easy to do. It's just sort of like the limit is how much you can think of ways to integrate that live data feed into an application. So I'm super excited about it. I've been playing around with it for a little bit, but I'm working into more being able to train models. So for things like, we work with the client that has a lab, and they do asbestos and different things, right? Where they're looking in the petri dishes, or they're looking at through a microscope to tell how much of a specific contaminant is present. And that's a great space for machine learning, for computer vision, to be able to look at it and say, there's so many fibers of asbestos in this particular sample that they're trying to analyze. And rather than having a human go through and count every single one and put it out in lab results, you can have the computer vision can look at it, segment it all out, and then say there's this threshold, there's this amount, yes, this is present, and then also provide it easily for a human to re-verify in an instance where you you need to have that humanized on it. So I'm super excited about the computer vision stuff. I hate to cut it short. I have a 9 o'clock call that I got to hop on though.
Yeah, well, I think everybody does, but we've gone around the room with everybody, so I think this is a perfectly good place to stop. I appreciate hearing about everybody's goals for 2024. If you're a listener and you have goals that you want to share with us, you can email us at info@portagebay.com and come and see us at Claris Engage in Austin. We'll be recording some podcasts. That's all the time we have for today. Get back to work.
Thank you for spending your time with us at the FileMaker DevCast today. We hope you found something useful, something thought-provoking, and something to take into your own development approach. Things that help you to be more productive and to allow you and your team to get more done in less time. Find us online at portagebay.com and filemakerdevcast.com, and also on social media at FM DevCast and Portage Bay. Let us know if we can help you or your company with modernizing your approaches and streamlining your workflow. We look forward to seeing you at the next DevCast.